Before we starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Story 1. James Anderson stood in his luxurious penthouse apartment, gazing out at the city skyline. His heart was heavy with a mixture of regret and uncertainty. It had been a week since he had made the fateful decision to break off his engagement with Sarah Turner, the woman he once thought he would spend the rest of his life with. Sarah, with her vibrant red hair and captivating hazel eyes, had always been a force of nature in James' life. They had met in their early 20s, young and filled with dreams. Their connection had been instant and intense, like a wildfire engulfing them both. For years they had been inseparable, their love fueling their individual passions and ambitions. But as the years passed, James had grown restless. He longed for freedom, the ability to explore life beyond the confines of a committed relationship. Fear of settling down and the weight of responsibility had gnawed at him, eroding the foundation of their love. One evening, James found himself standing in front of Sarah, his words trembling on the edge of his tongue. He watched as tears welled up in her eyes, her face a mixture of confusion and disbelief. He knew he was breaking her heart, but he couldn't suppress the overwhelming need to be free. The aftermath of that heartbreaking conversation had been devastating. James had plunged into a whirlwind of shallow relationships, desperately seeking solace in the arms of others. But no matter how many nights he spent in the embrace of strangers, none of them could fill the void that Sarah had left behind. Now, 2 decades later, James found himself reflecting on the choices he had made. He had achieved remarkable success in his career, becoming a renowned architect with accolades and a sprawling portfolio. Yet he couldn't escape the nagging feeling of emptiness, the lingering regret for the love he had foolishly cast aside. As James absent-mindedly flipped through a magazine in his plush leather chair, his eyes fell upon a familiar face. It was Sarah, standing in the crowd at the airport, her fiery hair cascading around her shoulders. But what struck him most was the young man standing beside her, the spitting image of his younger self. Curiosity mixed with trepidation coursed through James' veins. Was it possible that Sarah had moved on and built a life without him? Was this young man her son? Questions raced through his mind as he debated whether to approach them or let the past remain buried. However, something inside him pushed him forward. With a resolute sigh, James abandoned his magazine and made his way to the airport. His heart raced with anticipation, hope, and a tinge of fear. Would Sarah be open to seeing him? Would she have forgiven him after all these years? As he neared Sarah and the young man, their eyes locked. Time seemed to stand still as a wave of emotions crashed over James. His voice caught in his throat, but determination fueled his steps, bringing him closer to the woman he had once loved with all his being. Little did he know that this chance encounter would unearth buried secrets, reignite dormant emotions, and lead him on a journey of self-discovery and redemption. As he drew nearer to Sarah and the young man who bore his resemblance, James was about to embark on a path that would forever change the course of their intertwined lives. James stood a few feet away from Sarah and the young man who bore an uncanny resemblance to his younger self. His heart pounded in his chest as he observed them from a distance. Sarah's eyes widened in surprise, momentarily frozen in disbelief. It was as if time had stood still, and the years that separated them faded into oblivion. Summoning every ounce of courage he had, James took a deep breath and closed the remaining distance. He approached them, his steps steady but filled with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. As he drew closer, he noticed the flicker of recognition in Sarah's eyes. "James?" Sarah's voice quivered with a mixture of shock and confusion. "Is that really you?" A bittersweet smile tugged at James' lips. "Sarah, it's been so long. You look incredible." Sarah's gaze shifted towards the young man by her side, her son Ethan. The boy regarded James with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. His eyes mirrored James' own, a poignant reminder of the connection they shared. I can't believe it's you," Sarah whispered, her voice laden with emotions. After all these years. The airport hummed with activity around them, but James and Sarah remained enveloped in a world of their own. The weight of their shared history hung in the air, begging to be acknowledged and understood. "I saw you from a distance, and I couldn't resist coming over," James admitted, his voice tinged with regret. "I've thought about you so often over the years, Sarah. I've missed you." Sarah's gaze softened, and a glimmer of hope ignited within her. "I've missed you too, James. But so much has changed." As they continued their conversation, time seemed to warp and twist. James and Sarah delved into the experiences of the past 20 years, sharing their triumphs, failures, and the moments that shaped their individual lives. They spoke of their careers, their joys, and the inevitable struggles that had come their way. Eventually, Sarah revealed the truth she had kept hidden for so long. "After you left, I discovered that I was pregnant," she confessed, her voice wavering with vulnerability. "I chose to raise Ethan on my own." James' eyes widened with a mix of shock and wonder. "Ethan, he's my son." Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Yes, James, he's our son. I wanted to protect him, shield him from the pain of our broken relationship. But he's always known about you, and recently he expressed a desire to meet his father." Ethan, who had been listening intently, stepped forward tentatively. His gaze flickered between his mother and James, emotions swirling in his eyes. "I've heard so much about you," he admitted, his voice tinged with both longing and resentment. "I've always wondered what it would be like to have you in my life." James' heart swelled with a mixture of joy and regret. Here stood his long-lost son, a tangible reminder of the family he had unknowingly left behind. He extended a hand towards Ethan, offering an olive branch of connection and understanding. "I am sorry for not being there for you, Ethan," James said, his voice filled with sincerity. "But I'm here now, and I want to be a part of your life if you'll let me." Ethan hesitated for a moment before accepting James' outstretched hand. A faint smile played on his lips, signaling the beginning of a journey towards forgiveness and healing. James, Sarah, and Ethan found themselves immersed in a whirlwind of emotions as they navigated the uncharted territory of their newfound connection. The revelation of Ethan's true parentage had opened a floodgate of questions and uncertainties, but it also brought with it a glimmer of hope for reconciliation and healing. Over the following days, James spent time with Sarah and Ethan, eager to make up for the lost years and build a bridge of understanding between them. They shared stories, laughter, and even shed a few tears as they unraveled the intricacies of their shared past. Sarah recounted the challenges she faced as a single mother, the sleepless nights, and the relentless pursuit of providing the best life possible for her son. She spoke of the moments when Ethan yearned for a father figure and how she had tried her best to fill that void. Ethan, initially guarded and cautious, began to warm up to James. They spent hours talking, exploring shared interests, and discovering the traits they had inherited from each other. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, bridging the gap of the lost years. As the trio delved deeper into their shared history, they stumbled upon old photographs, letters, and mementos that had long been tucked away. These artifacts painted a vivid picture of a love that had once burned brightly and a future that had been shattered by fear and uncertainty. Through tearful conversations and heart-to-heart discussions, James came to understand the profound impact his absence had on Sarah and Ethan. Guilt gnawed at him, but he was determined to make amends and create a foundation of love and support for his newfound family. In the midst of their reconciliation, Sarah revealed another shocking twist to their story. She disclosed that James and Ethan were not the only victims of the secrets that had plagued their family. There was more to their past than they could have ever anticipated. Sarah's voice trembled as she recounted the truth. "James, Ethan, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her eyes filled with a mix of apprehension and vulnerability. "You are not the only ones who share a connection. You have a twin brother, James." The room fell silent, the weight of Sarah's words hanging in the air. James and Ethan exchanged bewildered glances, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the revelation. Sarah continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "When I discovered I was pregnant, I was told that I was carrying twins. But shortly after your birth, a mix-up occurred at the hospital. They mistakenly gave your brother to another family, and we were never able to find him." James and Ethan sat in stunned silence as the truth unraveled before them. The missing piece of their puzzle, the inexplicable similarities they had noticed throughout their lives, suddenly made sense. They were not only father and son, but also long-lost brothers. Emotions surged through James as he absorbed the gravity of the revelation. The ache of a missing sibling, the weight of a shared past they had unknowingly carried for decades. weighed heavily upon him, but intertwined with the pain was a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to reunite their fractured family. Sarah, James, and Ethan embarked on a quest to uncover the truth, to find James' long-lost twin brother and complete the missing chapter of their lives. They sifted through old documents, tracked down leads, and sought out any trace of the sibling that fate had separated from them. Story 2. Dr. Michael Reynolds, a respected and dedicated physician, had endured a devastating loss 2 years earlier when his beloved wife, Emily, tragically passed away during childbirth. Since that fateful day, grief had consumed him, casting a shadow over his once vibrant life. To cope with his pain, Michael threw himself into his work, immersing himself in the relentless demands of the hospital. He became known for his exceptional skills and unwavering commitment to his patients, always striving to make a difference in their lives. One particular day, as the hospital buzzed with the usual chaos, Michael received a call that shook him to his core. A critically ill patient required his immediate attention. With a sense of urgency, he rushed to the room, prepared to face the harrowing challenges that awaited him. As he stepped through the door, his heart froze in disbelief. There, lying on the bed, was his late wife, Emily. The sight struck him like a bolt of lightning, shattering his perception of reality. The room fell silent as the shock settled in, not only for Michael, but for the entire medical team present. Questions flooded Michael's mind. How could this be? Was it a hallucination, a trick of the mind? Or was it an inexplicable miracle, a second chance at happiness he had never dared to hope for? Torn between logic and the overwhelming desire to believe in the impossible, Michael approached the bed with caution. He examined the patient, studying her features, searching for any sign that could confirm or debunk his suspicions. The resemblance was undeniable. Every detail, every curve of her face, bore an uncanny resemblance to Emily. The hospital staff and Michael's colleagues, equally stunned and bewildered, watched as he struggled to comprehend the inexplicable sight before him. Whispers of disbelief echoed through the hallways, spreading like wildfire as news of the impossible occurrence spread. Medical examinations were swiftly conducted to ascertain the patient's identity and investigate the extraordinary circumstances of her revival. The room buzzed with a flurry of activity as tests were performed, charts scrutinized, and medical records reviewed. Michael, caught in a maelstrom of emotions, battled conflicting thoughts and emotions. Should he embrace this miraculous event, allowing hope to bloom within him once more? Or should he guard his heart, wary of the pain that could accompany a false resurrection? As the truth hung in the balance, Michael embarked on a quest to uncover the mysteries behind Emily's supposed death and her miraculous return. In the depths of his soul, a spark of hope ignited, intertwining with the lingering grief that had consumed him for so long. The journey to unravel the truth had begun, and with it, the restoration of a love that transcended the boundaries of life and death. The hospital staff and Michael's colleagues remained in a state of shock, struggling to come to terms with the inexplicable sight before them. As whispers and speculation filled the air, Michael's mind raced, desperately seeking logical explanations for the impossible resurrection of his wife, Emily. Determined to uncover the truth, Michael delved into the medical records surrounding Emily's death. He meticulously examined every detail, searching for any discrepancies or signs of a misdiagnosis. Hours turned into days as he pored over the documents, driven by an insatiable thirst for answers. During his investigation, Michael discovered a series of irregularities that raised doubts about the circumstances surrounding Emily's death. He found inconsistencies in the medical reports, conflicting testimonies from the attending physicians, and unexplained discrepancies in the timeline of events. Seeking further clarity, Michael reached out to Emily's family and friends, hoping that they might provide insight into any hidden secrets or peculiar occurrences that could shed light on the truth. He listened to their recollections, piecing together fragments of information and unearthing a trail of suspicion. As the puzzle slowly took shape, Michael learned of a powerful and influential figure within the hospital, a renowned surgeon named Dr. Jonathan Bennett. Emily's family revealed that she had been under Dr. Bennett's care during her pregnancy and subsequent childbirth. Driven by a mix of curiosity and suspicion, Michael sought a confrontation with Dr. Bennett. He arranged a meeting, hoping to extract the truth from the enigmatic surgeon. The encounter was tense, with each word carrying an underlying current of tension. Dr. Bennett, initially dismissive and guarded, slowly succumbed to the weight of Michael's persistence. As the layers of his facade crumbled, he admitted to orchestrating an elaborate deception, a sinister plot to conceal the truth surrounding Emily's death. According to Dr. Bennett, Emily's death had not been accidental. It had been a deliberate act, a consequence of her discovery of an illegal medical experiment being conducted by Dr. Bennett himself. Terrified that Emily would expose his unethical practices, he had taken drastic measures to ensure her silence, faking her death and spiriting her away to a secret location. Michael's world shattered around him as the extent of Dr. Bennett's treachery became clear. The man he had respected and trusted had been responsible for ripping his wife away from him, causing immeasurable pain and suffering. Anger surged through Michael, fueling a burning desire for justice. Determined to expose Dr. Bennett's crimes and seek retribution, Michael gathered evidence, meticulously documenting every detail of the deception. He enlisted the support of trustworthy colleagues, creating an alliance dedicated to revealing the truth and ensuring that justice would be served. As the investigation gained momentum, it became clear that the scope of Dr. Bennett's wrongdoing extended far beyond Emily's case. He had engaged in a web of deceit, manipulating medical records and exploiting vulnerable patients for his personal gain. With the evidence gathered, Michael presented his findings to the hospital administration, demanding accountability and an end to the corruption that had tainted their institution. The revelation sent shockwaves through the medical community, tarnishing the reputation of a once respected surgeon. In the wake of the exposé, legal proceedings ensued, aiming to hold Dr. Bennett accountable for his crimes. The trial became a spectacle, drawing national attention as the truth behind Emily's resurrection and the larger web of deception was laid bare. As the courtroom drama unfolded, Michael stood at the center, torn between seeking justice and reconciling his own feelings of loss and betrayal. The trial would determine not only Dr. Bennett's fate, but also the future path Michael would choose, forgiveness or vengeance. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as the trial of Dr. Jonathan Bennett unfolded. Michael, consumed by a mix of emotions, took the stand as a key witness, prepared to confront the man responsible for his wife's death and the subsequent years of anguish. As Michael recounted the events leading up to Emily's supposed demise, the room fell into a hushed silence. Every word carried weight, every pause punctuated by the collective breaths of those present. The truth, once concealed, now lay bare for all to see. The prosecution methodically presented evidence, painting a vivid picture of Dr. Bennett's crimes. Testimonies from other victims surfaced, each one lending strength to the growing case against the once revered surgeon. The courtroom became a battlefield, where truth clashed with deceit and justice hung in the balance. Michael's resolve grew stronger with each passing day of the trial. The pursuit of justice became a personal crusade, a mission to not only seek retribution for his own loss, but to ensure that no other lives would be marred by Dr. Bennett's immoral actions. Outside the courtroom, Michael received unexpected support from a diverse group of individuals who had been impacted by Dr. Bennett's wrongdoing. Together they formed an alliance, driven by a shared desire for justice and a determination to dismantle the corruption that had tainted their lives. As the trial progressed, shocking revelations emerged: complicit colleagues, hidden alliances, and a network of individuals protecting Dr. Bennett's illicit operations. The web of deceit extended far beyond what Michael had initially imagined, engulfing the hospital in a cloud of suspicion and shame. Emboldened by the mounting evidence against him, Dr. Bennett's demeanor shifted. The once confident surgeon now displayed cracks in his facade, anxiety etching lines across his face. It became apparent that the truth, once buried deep within his conscience, was now haunting him, threatening to unravel the life he had built on a foundation of deception. Throughout the trial, Michael found solace in the presence of Emily's family and friends. Their unwavering support provided him strength during moments of doubt and vulnerability. Together, they held onto the hope that justice would prevail and that their loved one's memory would be honored. As the courtroom drama reached its climax, Michael was confronted with a choice, one that would define his own path to healing. Should he allow bitterness and anger to consume him, or should he find the strength to forgive, forging a path toward personal redemption? The surprise ending that no one expected loomed on the horizon as the final day of the trial arrived. The courtroom brimmed with anticipation as the jury delivered its verdict, a verdict that would not only seal Dr. Bennett's fate, but also provide closure for those whose lives he had irreparably damaged. The verdict was read aloud, cutting through the tension like a knife. Dr. Bennett, the once untouchable figure, stood before the courtroom, stripped of his power and influence. Justice had prevailed, and he would face the consequences of his actions. In the aftermath of the trial, as the courtroom emptied, Michael stood outside, his heart heavy with a mix of emotions. The pursuit of justice had offered him closure, but the scars of loss remained. However, amidst the wreckage, a seed of hope began to sprout, a chance for a new beginning, a life rebuilt on the foundation of truth and resilience. The moral of the first story: he foolishly broke up with his fiancée. 20 years later, he saw her at the airport with a young man who looked a lot like him. He walked closer. Is that love and destiny are intricately connected? It teaches us the importance of making thoughtful decisions and the potential consequences of our actions. The story highlights the significance of cherishing the people we love and the significance of second chances, unexpected connections, and the power of forgiveness. The second story: the doctor was stunned when he entered the room. On the bed lay his wife, who had died in childbirth 2 years earlier. The truth shocked everyone, carries the moral that truth and justice prevail even in the face of deceit and betrayal. It teaches us the importance of seeking truth, pursuing justice, and confronting the past to find closure and healing. The story emphasizes the strength of resilience, the power of unity, and the possibility of redemption. Together, these stories illustrate the complexity of human relationships and the impact of our choices. They remind us to value and appreciate the people in our lives, to confront our mistakes, and to navigate the challenges that arise with courage and determination. Ultimately, they teach us the transformative power of love, forgiveness, and the pursuit of truth.